Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree Sunday New York Times Read Along. We meet every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern for about 90 minutes to talk about the news, the state of the world, and so much more. Today, we have a very special episode around India Giving Day. And our guest is Manisha Bharti, the CEO of Pratham USA, one of the most important and successful NGOs in India. And she is going to talk about the work of Pratham as well as the India Philanthropy Alliance and India Giving Day, which is coming up on Tuesday, on March 14th. And we are very excited to have all of you with us. Please share, tag your friends, tell them about this very important show. March 14th is India Giving Day, and you want to know all about this. Think of it as kind of Giving Tuesday, but aimed at India. And there are several charities that are involved in this, and we're going to tell you all about it and talk about a very busy news week. So please tag your friends. We're live on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, as well as the Digimentors website, as well as on the website of Scroll.in, one of India's most important independent news websites. Tag your friends. Anyone who cares about the news should be watching this with us. They can watch us live or later in advance of India Giving Day on March 14th. We have so much to talk about. Let's tell you first about Digimentors. This is the social digital consulting business with AI training that we do. We focus on things like event amplification, AI workshops, AI policy, strategy, scenario planning. We do marketing, communications, staffing and recruiting. And we love working with organizations big and small. If you're interested, please contact us, Sree@digimentors.group. We want to thank our sponsors at Muckrack. Muckrack is one of the most influential companies that are used by communications professionals. Journalists get a free verified account on Muckrack, and they have the world's largest directory of journalists, and PR folks use this every day around the world. So check out muckrack.com. We have so much to talk about, and I want to start by just saying hello to everybody. We are so delighted that you could join us. Tag a friend right now. Tell them about the New York Times Read Along. Tell them about India Giving Day. We are going to look at the newspaper, and we're going to talk to Manisha Bharti in just a minute or so. Want to tell you what's in the paper just to get us started. This is Saturday's headlines. This is Saturday's paper just so you could see this story that's gotten a lot of publicity about anger at Musk erupts in cabinet room clash with key Trump allies. This was the story yesterday. And here is the headline from today's paper. The front page is "Fearing Payback, Critics of Trump Mute Themselves. A Chill Stifles Debate." And over 40 died while captive in Gaza Strip. Israelis' anguish grows as peace talks flail. And this image of this woman and this dog is a war widow. Nira Sharabi's home at a kibbutz has reminders of her husband Yossi, who was killed in Gaza by an Israeli airstrike. And a hotline opens, and the suits against Sean Puffy Combs, you all know, you know him as Diddy, against Combs Mount, drawn by advertising to a divisive area of the law. And those are just some of the headlines on the front page of the New York Times. We're going to take your comments and hear from you, and you get a chance to ask questions of Manisha as well. Let's just say hello to a few people watching. Jonathan's watching from the East Village. Always great to have you, Jonathan. Naomi says she's always shared it. Already shared the stories here by a chilly Rhode Islander. Great show in store, absolutely. Pradnya Haldipur, who also works in the development space, is with us. Good morning from Silver Spring, Maryland. Steffens watching and says, good morning to the New York Times Read Along family. Wonderful to be here this morning to learn all about India Giving Day and so much more. Hope everyone is well. And Stefan, thank you for watching and all your support. Steve Herman is here. Steve is a great friend of the show. Hello from Widewater, Virginia. I'll be viewing as I drive up the I-95 to Fairfax County this morning. And Steve's book, Behind the Curtain, is all about life covering the White House. Ken Fisher is with us. Good morning from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Good morning, Ken. Great to have you. Hard to believe that in just a couple of years, Iowa will again be the focus of all the news because the election cycles will start again. Doug Levy is watching, eager to hear about India Giving Day and your thoughts about the way the news media is covering the flood of assaults on democracy and freedom. Good morning. And you should all know that Doug is watching live in California, where it's 5:30 in the morning, not 8:30 in the morning. And with the time difference, it's actually 4:30 in the morning for him. As it is for us here, it's actually 7:30 because of the time difference, something that we're all getting used to. And I'll be asking Manisha about how much of an early morning person she is as well. And it's very hard to do this, especially on the day the daylight savings time is affected. So let's tell you about our show today. It's all about India Giving Day, which is on March 14th. And our very special guest is Manisha Bharti. She is the CEO of Pratham USA and part of the India Giving Day and the India Philanthropy Alliance. And she'll be talking to us about her work in international development. She'll be talking about Pratham. She'll be talking about India Giving Day and so much more. We are very, very excited to have her with us and grateful that she would take the time to be with us on a Sunday morning, a very early Sunday morning. Hi.
Good morning. Good morning, Sree. I'm delighted to be here today on this, extra early morning today.
So what do you normally do at 7:30 a.m. on a Sunday rather than 8:30 on a Sunday?
Yeah, it's a good question. So normally I'm based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So when it's 8:30 or 7:30 on the East Coast, it's an hour back for me. And, it really depends what's gone on the night before. I have two teenagers at home and they used to be very early risers, but they now sleep in. So it gives me some quiet time, definitely in those early hours. I love the morning though. I love the quiet of the morning. So yeah, you'd probably find me.
Same way with my twins. I used to be a late riser. Once the twins arrived, I would get up early to work up before them, so I could get a little bit done before they woke up. So that was really something that I got used to, and it changed everything I do. Folks, if you're watching live, please tell us where you're watching from and tag a friend on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and then they can watch us live or later and share it. Which of the social media platforms are you most comfortable with? I know you're great on LinkedIn.
I have to be honest, I'm of that generation where social media has not been sort of an active place where I'm super active. The human community in person is sort of where I'd like to spend more of my time. But, I know me and certainly our team tries to keep us active on several of the platforms. So Pratham can be found very much so on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, and beyond. So hopefully we have a lot of supporters across the country. And I hope several of them are tuning in.
Yes, and we love it when people are able to watch and comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us how you're spending your Sunday. There is a move that you've heard, I'm sure, Manisha, to actually get rid of these clock changes on a regular basis, to stop doing this. What are your thoughts on this?
It's it's not something I've spent a whole lot of time thinking about, in the sense that, but I do have to say, so I'm visiting my sister here in Mississauga, and my 7-year-old niece the other day said, "What? Why does the time need to change? How does that work? What is daylight savings time?" And to kind of have to explain to a 7-year-old why how time changes, it's a bit of a metaphysical question that's a little bit, I have to say, she stumped me, which she does regularly.
We should tell everybody you are in Canada, and It's in the middle of the most unusual period in its history with the US. Just 2 years ago, 73% of Canadians said they want to have good relations with the US and approach it in a friendly way. And now it's something like 25%. And that change is quite dramatic. And we know why it's happening because of the tariff war. But what's it like to be an American visiting Canada at the moment?
So, many, when I was traveling here, people say, oh, you're going to visit the 51st state. Here it's, oh, thank you for visiting, going back to the 11th province. So there's a kind of, clear tension, obviously, between the two countries, which, if we think about it, then if you had that kind of conflict with your neighbor, it's always so uncomfortable. And I think there really is that tension is palpable. The conflict is, you feel it, the resentment a little bit around this sense that there could be, the kind of the what we see in the news right now is felt, I think, probably more so on the Canadian side, right? There is more weakness, more a sense of insecurity here, but a deep and growing sense of pride also. And at the same time, the Canadian economic situation is tough. And so there's a kind of, I think they're in some limited pockets, and not certainly in a forceful way, but this sense of like, what might that mean? What might there be in terms of opportunity for Canada, but not a sense of, the way in which it's been going about right now. So.
Yeah, and the way it's happened is what's so confounding to so many people. You're from Minnesota, which already has very close ties to Canada, and so talk about that a little bit, and your family there, of course.
Yeah, so I was born and brought up in Canada. I went to high school in Canada and was a proud, Canadian. I traveled Europe with a Canadian flag on my backpack, as many Canadians do. And, I left for college. So I, have spent most of my adult and my almost entire professional life outside of Canada. But home is where the heart is. My parents are here. I have a sister and a brother who both live here, and now nieces and nephews. So I'm always back and tied, and try to keep my kids connected to Canada as well. But professionally, really, my work has been much more global and international in scope, and needed to live outside of Canada to be able to do that. So I've lived in Switzerland and worked for the UN in Geneva. I've been spent several years in India, which also is really where my heart always goes back to, and now as a resident of the United States, but working globally, which right now also has been called into question around what is the US's role going to be in global development with the current fate of USAID. So lots
We're
of
going to
big
talk about
questions
all
and
of
uncertainties. Yeah.
We're going to talk about all of that, and also a little bit about your career, more than what you've already told us, and also what's happening with India Giving Day. We're very exciting. It's coming up on Friday. Just going to read a couple of comments. Doug says it's a good time for coffee at 5:30 in the morning for him. Jonathan says it's always a good time for coffee. Deborah Kerr is watching. She was a guest on our show. She's just been to Antarctica on a National Geographic trip. And early here too in Fort Lauderdale, coffee brewing in the French press. Better late than ever. Normally, the show is possible because of the great work done by Neil Parekh. Neil is away today, but his mom, as always, is watching, and Sudha Parekh's watching from Hastings-on-Hudson. Hi, Sudha. Thank you for so much for being here. Also, someone who watches regularly is Ron Thomas, who is based in Dubai. It says, good morning from JFK on his way to Dubai. He never misses a show, even as he's traveling around the world. And Deborah says, here in South Florida, we welcome our French Canadians back each winter, the snowbirds, as they call them. Not sure if that will continue with this tension. That's really sad if that's the case. And Doug says, considering that the tension is entirely driven by one person on one side, it's all so puzzling. And that's an issue. And here's what Deborah is doing. She's tagged her friend, another Bharti named Bharti Choksi. Would you like to join today? So everyone, you can do this on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Just tag a friend and they can watch live or later. And here, it's always nice to bring two Bhartis together, but we are talking about India Giving Day, as well as the work of Pratham USA and the India Philanthropy Alliance. And what I would like to do is start by talking a little bit about what's happening with India Giving Day. So you can just set that up for us. I think that would be very helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sree, for the opportunity. And really, on behalf of the India Philanthropy Alliance, which is the organization and entity behind India Giving Day. So Pratham has been one of the founding members of the India Philanthropy Alliance. And, a couple of years ago, there was really a conversation around we have so many members who are organizations like Pratham, who have sister organizations here in the United States that are mobilizing awareness, advocacy, support, resources, and beyond, financial and beyond, to be able to give back and support all of the work that our sister organizations are doing in India. And we wanted to sort of figure out what's a way we can, step function, grow the opportunity to get more support, more interest, and really widen the pie. Not in addition to getting the current supporters and donors to lean in more, how do we bring new people to the table? Because we know both the Indian diaspora in the United States is large and significant and growing, and greater interest in global issues, global development issues, and support for India well beyond the diaspora. So we took inspiration from North Texas, of all places, where there is a giving day that over the years has just grown in incredible success, and launched this 3 years ago. So this year on Friday, March 14th, is our third annual Giving Day. And we already are starting to see that growth trajectory, both in terms of the number of organizations who participate. So thank you for showing on the screen. This year, we have 36 different organizations participating from a range of issue areas, right? You can see there, Vibha, Pratham is there, of course, Planet Read, organizations that span different sectors. So Miracle Foundation is working with children and, who are orphans and have had, have family situations that could benefit from additional support. Educate Girls, an important peer organization, FFE, also in education, so many organizations working in different parts of the spectrum. So several in education. You have CRY that looks at child rights, Community Pure Water, which is a great innovation approach to getting water into community. AIF is an important, the America India Foundation that really supports a range of different sectors. I'll mention Ashoka. I'll come back to them after they've joined us for the first time and have a very exciting match opportunity from Mackenzie Scott. $2 million of any resources donated to Ashoka will get matched by a Mackenzie Scott support. So it's really been broad. Akshay Patra is one of the leading organizations getting midday meals, kids to be able to learn better because they get the nutrition that they require. So, we're just so excited that we have such an incredible and vast array of organizations that have joined us this year to be part of India Giving Day. And one of the things that's been really important to IPA, the India Philanthropy Alliance, is to make sure that all of these organizations are vetted. So our team of the IPA team does incredible due diligence, not only just to look at their tax records and their 990 forms, for those who know what that is, but to really dig deep to make sure that anyone coming to our platform to support any one of these organizations can have the confidence that these are trusted organizations, transparent organizations, and will put their money to work in the way that it's said. So that's what India Giving Day is all about. It's really to celebrate the joy of giving, the joy of giving back, the joy of supporting, all of these incredible causes And like I said, we're really trying to widen the pie. We have a lot of young people getting involved this year. So Sree, I'm happy to talk more, but just really thank you again for the opportunity today to talk about India Giving Day.
Friday, March 14th. Everyone, please support. And you can donate now. You don't have to wait for Friday. It all counts towards the total that they'll be raising. There's also an exciting match for about $115,000 that's donated across the alliance, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that has been made possible by our biggest and earliest champion, the Rural India Supporting Trust. This is a foundation that, is based here in the US and has a sister organization also in India that has really championed our cause right from the beginning. They believed in what we were doing. And that's what philanthropy is and can do, is create risk capital and create opportunity for innovation. So they believed in our idea when it was an unproven concept. So they've both supported our ability to create and launch, design this campaign. And as part of that, create this very generous matching pool. So throughout the days when they've created these grants that have these very exciting ways to encourage giving to larger organizations, giving to smaller organizations, our peer matching campaign, being able to give early, give often. You'll see on India Giving Day some campaigns going out that in certain hours, our funds any of the contributions you make can be doubled in terms of the impact that they can have. So real great, deep appreciation for the Rural India Supporting Trust that's been a big sponsor. And this year, we're really proud that MacArthur Foundation, one of the leading and largest global philanthropies globally, based in Chicago, has come on as a supporter. And, they have India as a big priority. It's one of the three places where they have offices are, obviously the US, India, and Nigeria. So India is a big priority for them. And we're really, really grateful to MacArthur Foundation for also now coming in to support what we're trying to do.
Apollo's watching from sunny Philadelphia. Here also in New York, it's sunny, but super cold. Of course, Canada, as a Canadian, one place that you'd be comfortable, I'm sure, is Minnesota and not think it's too cold, right?
Well, lots of Minnesotans also go to Florida, Deborah, I think, to be the snowbird. So I'm familiar with that concept very well. Yeah, it is sunny here today, but also it's not as warm as it might be.
Yeah, I had to walk our dog before the show, and trying to get a dog. We talk about humans adjusting to daylight saving issues, right? The dog doesn't want to get up at, we set the alarm for 7, but it's actually 6 o'clock, and she didn't want to go, and it was -2 Celsius and 28 degrees or something like that Fahrenheit. So that's way too cold for us, folks. You're watching the Sunday New York Times read along. That's Manisha Bharti. I'm Sree Sreenivasan, and we're talking about India Giving Day, but also we're going to talk about the New York Times and what's happening in the news in a few minutes. Please post your questions. We are talking about why people should support India Giving Day, no matter what their background. This is not just for Indian Americans or South Asians. I understand that there's a great stat about how much money could be raised if every South Asian family, every Indian American family donated a relatively small amount of money. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sree. We really have sort of thought about, the fact of what does it take to give? And again, this whole day is about the spirit and the joy of giving, right? It really is truly joyful to be able to give and to be able to have the privilege and opportunity to give, right? That means you have something to be able to give away. But, if every, and this is just a brief fact that we just sort of came up with, that if every Indian American family were able to donate $100 on India Giving Day, it would double the budgets of the 36 organizations that are involved as part of India Giving Day. And, if I think about if Pratham were able to double our budget, our impact would more than double in terms of the reach that we would have. And I think that would be true for all of the organizations. The leverage that's possible in India, being able to, how far the dollar goes, but also the efficiency, the quality of organizations. And again, each of those 36 organizations that are on our platform are vetted, and we know that they're having the impact that they say they're going to have. So we're really hoping that people of all ages, all stripes, again, Indian Americans, Indiophiles, again, Indian Canadians, but anyone who really cares about the issues in India, and really we know, though, where there's need one place in the world, it reflects needs all around the world, and certainly in terms of health issues, infectious disease, we know that to be very true. But really want to make sure that there's no minimum amount to give. And this year we have a lot of young people involved doing peer-to-peer fundraisers, getting their peer groups involved. And it's really more about engagement and getting involved, learning about the issues, and getting themselves and their peers involved. So excited to.
Very exciting, and your energy is contagious. And so everyone watching, please mark Friday, March 14th as India Giving Day on your calendar. Share on social media so that everyone knows, but you don't have to wait till India Giving Day. You can give today to any of these organizations. And the best way to find everything is to go to indiagivingday.org, and you can find all the organizations there and the work of the India Philanthropy Alliance, which is doing groundbreaking work, bringing together all of these organizations. And as I heard you, Manisha, talking about each of the other organizations in such a generous and authentic way, I was struck by that, because as we know, in the world of philanthropy, often there's this feeling that there's a zero-sum game. If one organization gets money, then we won't get money. But it says something about your own generosity, but also the concept of India Giving Day, that we're all in this together. We all want to pull together. And as long as someone's giving money to an Indian cause, that's a good thing. And it reminds me of work at the museum when I was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art as the chief digital officer. We would always say that the number one thing we wish is more people would go to more museums, not just to the Met, every museum. Yeah. And that's what we want people to do, because as long as they're going to any museum, that means then they're attuned to going to our museum as well. And that seems to be part of the concept here. And I want to give a shout out to our friend Alex Counts, who's watching. Alex, of course, from the India Philanthropy Alliance. He was a great guest on this show as well. And I'll give you a chance to say hi to Alex.
Yeah. Hi, Alex. I'm so glad you're tuning in. I hope I'm doing an okay job. Let me know. And Alex has been our executive director and really, really involved in issues in South Asia for so long, having been part of Grameen and part of America India Foundation, and has been a great leader of our alliance, bringing us all together. I think, and Alex, I think you agree with me too, that, in our community, and just in general, I have a mindset of abundance. I really don't buy into this sense of zero sum. And, I'm really grateful of the abundance that we have in our country, in our community, and absolutely feel that the more we can get involved, the more we can give, the more people that can see that there's joy in giving and in giving back, the more that joy gets shared, and that is abundant and infinite in its opportunity to spread. So that's really where it comes from, I think, for me personally, but also certainly I think the spirit behind India Giving Day and the India Philanthropy Alliance.
Well, the verdict is in, because Alex says, Manisha, you're doing great. And I see my friend Dan Foreman's watching. What a smart, successful, coordinated effort. That's kind of the key here, to see the community coming together and working together, cooperating. This community, which internally is not known for great coordination and working together and pulling together. That's what's so exciting about India Giving Day, and that's coming up Friday, March 14th. Everyone, please check out indiagivingday.org. And Deborah says another reason to celebrate Pi Day. Of course, 314 is Pi Day as well. So you're competing with Pi Day on March 14th.
Well, pi also goes to infinity, right? So we have no limits on what we can do. Deborah, thank you for that.
Yeah, very clever, very clever. Diane's watching. Good morning from Margate, New Jersey. Amazing work Manisha has been accomplishing in spite of the chaos being created in DC affecting the global community. And she's put the hashtag no kings. And here is Debbie saying Pi Day should be Philanthropy to India Day. So
I love it.
everyone's making clever wordplay here. Let's talk a little bit about what is happening in Washington. You have experience with USAID. Put in perspective what this means for the world. I think it'd be fair to say that no one's in favor of government waste. No one's in favor of inefficiency. So the idea, in theory, that we would go through and look for waste in a coordinated, smart, strategic, thoughtful manner would have been okay with everybody. But here, it's gone directly to the chainsaw. And you heard President Trump himself say, we're going to move from the chainsaw to the scalpel. So lay out the land give us a lay of the land for us and what this means for yourselves, your colleagues, and the world at this moment.
Yeah. Sree, I've dedicated my entire career to advancing the issues around global development and to really see the dismantling of USAID. I have to say, feels like a dear friend, a colleague has passed away, if not been murdered. And so personally, I do come from a place of hurt to just see the disappearance really of an organization that it has been a pivotal player in the global landscape, not only shaping, but also advancing and creating, opportunities to address global issues. My background is in public health, actually. And so I spent a big chunk of my career working on the issues of HIV and the US government, USAID, the President's Emergency Plan for in support, PEPFAR, in support of HIV, really shaped the response, the global response, and the global success of curbing, and addressing the HIV pandemic around the world. So I agree with you in terms of, again, nobody wants waste or unnecessary bureaucracy, but I think to just completely dismantle it and for it to disappear overnight, it's too early to tell what the global ramifications and impacts of that are going to be, I feel like. And will something else, will a phoenix emerge out of the ashes? I don't know. I don't know what the long-term as well as the immediate impacts are going to be. I mean, certainly even in the times today, we're talking about the impact on infectious disease and outbreaks and what that's going to mean, in the United States and around the world. And I think that, I was just speaking with my brother-in-law again. I mentioned I'm here visiting family in Canada, and just to kind of say, I agree. I think there's this painting everything with the same brush of, there's fraud or there's, waste. I think certainly the biggest thing there, no one will dispute that there's inefficiency. And I think that's actually the biggest, had been the biggest gap, the opportunity to address the inefficiencies. And then sort of, yes, isolate. Are there issues of fraud? I'm sure there are. Those need to be addressed and handled in the systems in place. And then, so I feel like obviously there are many ways to handle certain issues. And I think to know what's going to happen with USAID in the long term, the impact on global development, it's too early to tell. But no, I have certainly so many colleagues, close colleagues. I have worked sort of with USAID, with contractors that support USAID. Even Pratham has benefited from partnering with USAID across multiple projects, and their disappearance. It's really in some ways underlining the critical and important role, the central role of private and individual philanthropy, because that's been a lot stickier, we've been able as Pratham to innovate and count on individual supporters across the US to enable us to do all that we've done over the last 30 years. And so again, it comes back to India Giving Day, an opportunity in my mind for getting more and more support from individuals that can really help sustain these organizations.
You've laid that out so well, and you've made the case for why everyone should support India Giving Day and other philanthropy at this moment. If you can afford it, please donate to a charity of your choice. Of course, if you can do India Giving Day and the India Philanthropy Alliance, that would be even better. With India Giving Day coming up on March 14th, we all are familiar with Giving Tuesday, which takes place after Thanksgiving. So I think of this as kind of Giving Tuesday, but for India. We see a lot of universities doing this as well, where they'll have a giving day for their alumni to all come together and give as well. So this is brilliant and so exciting to see 36 organizations coming together. Everyone go to indiagivingday.org. You don't have to wait till Friday, March 14th. You can give now, before, during, and after India Giving Day. One of the things, Manisha, that's so sad about all of this is that I think we're forgetting America's soft power, and that there is a benefit to solving the problems far away now before they become a global problem. We learned that during the pandemic, and we're now seeing this being completely ignored. We're also seeing America has pulled out of WHO. We talk a lot about what's happening with NATO, but the WHO pullout is a huge loss for the world and a huge loss for America, because we're not now in the room to help understand and help shape what happens. And that's going to have an effect around the world. Folks, that's Manisha Bharti, the CEO of Pratham USA. I'm Sree Sreenivasan, and this is the Sunday New York Times Read Along. And we're going to get to the paper in just a few minutes. We're going to look at a few comments that have come in. Paula is watching from Tallahassee, Florida, and another Floridian is watching. Dr. Tachi is watching from Fort Lauderdale. She and I were together. We did a live show from Fort Lauderdale in January, which was a lot of fun. And Sudha says, it's very frustrating to see what has happened to USAID. My son Neil, our executive producer, Neil Parekh, worked for USAID in Egypt. And we hear so many stories of folks who lost their jobs, who've lost the opportunity to make a difference. These people who volunteer to, for pay and otherwise, to go work and help people overseas are doing such great work. And that's all being cut down before our eyes, and people are feeling helpless. So if you're helpless, one of the things you can do is help all these great organizations in India. Help them today by going to indiagivingday.org. A couple of questions about India Giving Day. Can you, we saw how many educational nonprofits there are, including your own Pratham USA. And at the same time, we hear about, all the growth in India and the success in India, of the success of India as a country. How does the importance of the work that you're all doing fit in with what the government is doing and where India is today?
Yeah, thank you, Sri. That's a great question. In India, the economy is going to depend on the education levels of the workforce, and given that India is a very young community, the demographics are such that the younger population is much wider than the older. There's really a critical need to make sure that population is educated, skilled, and ultimately in the workforce. And each of the organizations that you'll find on the India Giving Day platform are focusing on a different aspect of education. And so I just want to underline again, if education is a cause that's dear to you, please do look at all the different organizations that are working in the education space. So I serve as co-chair of India Giving Day as CEO of Pratham, and my co-chair is the executive director of Akanksha, which is, again, another great organization doing work in education, where they're really looking at cradle to career and really looking at the full evolution of young people from their early stage of education all the way, to getting into careers. FFE is an organization, the Foundation for Excellence in Education, is looking at higher education. So making sure that young people who might not otherwise have access are getting those degrees in engineering or in medical issues. So many of us are focusing on different aspects of education. Akshay Patra, as I mentioned, is making sure that kids have nutrition so that then they can access from the education supporting them. So I think that we are seeing really important progress, and there's no doubt that the government is critical, right? They're the heart of providing education to the largest population. And just about 6 weeks ago, the annual status of education report was released. So this is an annual, actually biannual, done on a national level, the results of education, looking at the basics, foundational education, literacy and numeracy. And we saw some really promising results that in the post-pandemic world, we're starting to see the fruits of our labor. There had started to be some progress pre-pandemic. Obviously, globally, the pandemic set learning back. In India, schools were closed for 2 years, some of the longest closures around the world. But it's not that kids weren't learning. They were learning other things. And certainly I'm proud of all of the work that Pratham was able to do to keep kids learning, most particularly by putting the learning in the hands of kids and their families. So mothers were a critical part of being able to help kids learn during the pandemic. What we're now seeing, what we just saw in these latest results, that in both, basic literacy, we saw that we're starting to get to pre-pandemic levels. So the curve had gone down and now it's headed back up. And we saw, more importantly, some of the largest gains in math that we hadn't seen actually even pre-pandemic. So things are working. Again, the public system, the government public system, is reaching the largest number of kids. And most of our organizations that are working in education are looking to complement that, provide innovative models, help support and supplement and complement what the government is doing. And so that partnership with private organizations and government is just so central. Again, these kind of national data help us know what we should be looking at.
One of the things I'd like to do is just to go through just to kind of flip through the Pratham website, and then you can talk us through some of the great work that's happening there. And folks, we are going to switch from that after we do that to talking about the news and what's in the newspaper. And please share your comments, share your questions. Here's your chance to ask a global philanthropy executive about her work, but also about life in philanthropy and development, in helping people, giving your career. You could have done a lot of other things, but choosing to go into this field is something very special. And we see young people who choose to do that every day. And that's one of the things we might lose in this battle against kind of doing good and helping people, which is really sad that we're experiencing that right now. So I'm just going to scroll through the site and you can tell us more about it. It's the 30th anniversary of Pratham.
It is. We are so proud of the fact that Pratham has been around for 30 years. And here, this is, a story of Kalina, a mother who really, has had a lot of hardship on her own, but has been living with the focus of her children, right? Her 2 daughters. And you can watch a really great video about her. But this whole idea of mothers being at the heart of, we always say mothers are our children's first teachers. And as a mother, that I'm proud of that as well. But, historically, a lot of Pratham's work has, to be honest, looked at mothers as the role they can play in educating their kids. And through the pandemic, like I said, we equipped them and gave them more and more tools to be able to do that more effectively. But they started seeing that, wait a second, they wanted to start learning on their own. Many of the mothers with whom we work in rural India across the country themselves may not have had an education past 4th grade. And what we saw was they started learning alongside their kids. And there was this major shift of, not only do I want my dream being fulfilling the dreams of my children, but I actually have dreams of my own as a mother. And that's a big part of our next 30 years for Pratham. We're going to be focusing on the needs of women and girls in their own right, mothers who themselves getting them their primary education, getting them their 10th grade standard, what we call our second chance program, and then getting them into our skilling programs where they can not only be learning, but also earning and thriving. And we know that when women do that, they're supporting the needs of their own families. And yesterday was International Women's Day. So really excited about, the growing focus that Pratham will have on women and girls in particular in our next 30 years.
I'm looking at prathamusa.org, and just these numbers are stunning.
Thank you. Yeah, at the heart of our work historically has been children. And so, we in our direct programs, which are our innovation labs where we're working across, all the districts in India, we reach about 650,000 children. But as you mentioned, the role of the government is critical. So in 17 or 18 states across India, we've partnered with the government and are kind of powering their foundational and literacy programs behind the scenes. And so that's how we've now gotten to well over 8 million additional children reached through Pratham's foundational literacy programs.
That's so cool. One of the things that we've seen the impact of Pratham is the work that Pratham played a key role in the understanding of how you get people out of poverty and the role of education. And the Nobel laureates, Abhijit Banerjee and Esther Duflo, showed up one day, future Nobel laureates showed up one day 25 years ago or so at Pratham in Mumbai. And from their work, they worked so closely with Pratham, and their work on what's called RCTs, the randomized controlled trials, won them a Nobel Prize in economics. It shows you that where you start, you're helping people, but where that work can go is very hard to ever predict. And that's what's just one of the very exciting ways in which this work matters. And so, folks, that's prathamusa.org. Please check them out, and please go to the India Philanthropy Alliance and see everything that's happening there. And you go to indiagivingday.org, and there are some prizes that are there. There's $10,000 in matching gifts for volunteer fundraisers. There are golden tickets that if you give between now and the 13th, 4 times a day, there's just random chance drawings for people who give. So you could give some money and get some money here, $250 4 times a day. There's specific days like March 9th today. There's a separate $250 drawing. So you can just see there's so much going on. And what you're trying to do is build that excitement, Manisha.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. These prizes have been an incredible gift from the Rural India Supporting Trust, which we hope just encourages more and more people to give. I will just correct that the matching prizes go to the organization, not to the donor. And so it doubles the impact of the gift. So if someone, wins a golden ticket today, whatever organization they've contributed to, that gift will be supplemented by the amount of that golden ticket.
Excellent. Thank you for correcting that. Of course, that makes sense. But you're not doing this for the prizes, so that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
The organizations are the ones who benefit, and more importantly, the beneficiaries of those organizations in India are really the ones who.
Best countdown social media posts. Just look at this, really exciting. Best impact ads, 30-second reel. Best peer-to-peer fundraising. So there's a chance to double and just have your money go a long way, and as well as helping people. This is just fantastic.
Yeah. Sree, I wanted to come back to something you said earlier around the fact of, I think these organizations, or at least the focus of this campaign, is on the work in India and maximizing that impact. And you'll see that there are several of these organizations that are also working beyond. What we're learning in India is what's being shared in other countries around the world. And you mentioned the Nobel laureate. So with Pratham, for example, our teaching at the right level methodology, which has now been scientifically proven to get kids reading, doing math at their age level within less than 50 days, is a methodology that's shown to be effective in northern India, southern India, right? In Punjabi just as much as in Tamil. And so the language, it's transcended the diversity across India. And other countries around the world have noticed this. So we are now, as Pratham, sharing that methodology in over 25 countries around the world. And that impact that's sort of been rooted, innovated, homegrown in India is having an impact around the world. And I think that's also an important message around India Giving Day. Again, any of the support that's given on India Giving Day is and for the benefit of India and Indian programs. But just to think about the massive size of the Indian population, but also the innovations that happen in India are having a global impact as well. So just wanted to underline that point.
Thank you. Very, very important.
Yeah.
Dr. Sujata Chandrasekhar is watching and she's tagging her friends. Everybody, please do this. Tag a friend on any of the platforms. We're live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. And she also just gave to VFF.org, Empowering Rural Populations in India. So little from us here goes so far there. That is very well put. So that says when one donates to Indian Giving Day, the money is distributed to the different organizations, or one selects the organization. Good technical question here.
Yes. So thank you for the question. It's both. So any donor can choose which organization they give to. So the pages that Sree showed earlier, and I'm sure are being circulated on all the social media, you can go there and select any one organization, or you can just choose a general fund and it's distributed across all the organizations. So donors have that choice in terms of how they'd like to direct their funding. And there are several of us who try to give to all. So making sure that all organizations are receiving that support. So really grateful for your question.
Debbie says, amazing preparation into this Giving Day, impressive. And that's the way that everyone's come together, the India Philanthropy Alliance and each of the organizations has been great. Alex says, I've been using the time during the show to donate to each of the 36 organizations. The process is so easy. There you go. And Sujana says, we've been donors to Pratham. What a great explanation of its power and reach. That's prathamusa.org and indiagivingday.org. Everyone, please check this out. This is the Sunday New York Times read along. Every Sunday we read the newspaper with a great guest. As you can see, we have Manisha Bharti here today from Pratham USA. She's the first CEO of Pratham USA, and she brings 25 years of experience in helping people around the world. Question for you, Manisha, before we go to the paper. Young people thinking about jobs and careers, it's so easy to fall into this idea that you have to go work on Wall Street or other kinds of corporate jobs. What do you tell them if they have an interest in the world of nonprofit work?
Yeah. I get the opportunity through alumni associations and past organizations to speak with a lot of young people who are really interested in getting involved in global development in some way. So I feel like the opportunity is absolutely there. Those who are interested in global work, I think trying to get global experience in the field, volunteering, donating their time, getting involved with organizations like the 36 that are here, because each of us is linked back to an organization in India, is a great place to get started, to understand what the opportunities are, what the ways in which they can deploy their skills and talents. I'll be honest, I'd be hard pressed to know exactly what to say today, with what is going to be a major disruption in the global development landscape with the disappearance of USAID and the question around at least the short-term role of the US in global development. But my answer would always be where what I would probably give as most answers to most questions is not to give up hope and to continue that interest in global development and pursue the learning and the opportunities, whether it's health, education, or any other sector.
And to just underline the role of the US for the last 50 years in the nonprofit world, in the NGO world, has been, for the most part, very positive. And so, unlike other areas of US foreign policy where so many problematic things have happened, this is one thing that Americans can be proud of. And to see it kind of all kind of going away so quickly is really, really sad.
Well,
Folks, yeah.
no, I was going to say, Sree, I think it was Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State, talked about the 3 Ds, right? The role of the U.S. in terms of, certainly there's defense, there's diplomacy, but development has been a really critical way in which the U.S. can create relationships, and that soft power that you talked about earlier. And so I think that's still there. And again, I think the organizations like the 36 are 501c3s, so US nonprofits, and are exercising that soft power, in this case in India, by creating those relationships, those ties with organizations in India. So it makes that individual contribution to those organizations all the more important.
We see countries in Europe, especially places like Norway, that have understood that power, the soft power, and give disproportionately to to the rest of the world, and they will take that leadership on now as the U.S. recedes in so many areas. Folks, we have about 30 minutes left with Manisha Bharti, the CEO of Pratham USA and the co-chair of India Giving Day. That's Friday, March 14th. Everyone, please mark your calendars. Tell your friends. You can be Indian American, non-Indian American, an Indophile, or just someone who believes that at this moment, with all the chaos going on, supporting international NGOs and nonprofits is a good thing. And you can see these are all vetted organizations, and there's some great prizes to double your money to have an impact. So please check out indiagivingday.org. And let's get to the paper. Manisha will jump in as I take a look at the news, and where she's comfortable, she will share her thoughts as well as we go through the paper. So the lead story in the paper is Fearing Payback. Critics of Trump mute themselves. A chill stifles debate from colleges to Capitol, averting threats and protecting careers. One of the stories we've seen just this week, just yesterday, is Columbia University losing $400 million in research and other aid from the government. Over 40 died while captive in Gaza Strip. Israelis' anguish grows as peace talks flail. And there's a picture of a war widow at a home in her kibbutz, at a kibbutz, with reminders of her husband who was killed in Gaza by an Israeli airstrike. And so this story, we talk a lot about Ukraine, but the problem still, the tragedy still unfolds in the Middle East. A hotline opens and suits against Sean Combs mount, drawn by advertising to a divisive area of the law. This picture here, the set of pictures of reverence for the handmade. Designers around the world are imbuing contemporary crafts with a genuflection to ancient techniques. There's a whole section on this. And then this really tragic story out of Pakistan, a father accused in vacation plot to kill daughter. He kind of tricked her into going to Pakistan, and this absolutely horrendous story of her being killed there. And here's a story about Gen Z and all the various kinds of fads that come on because of TikTok and social media. One of the things, Manisha, I'm sure you've seen those recommendations for special water bottles that are very popular. And so what they're saying is there are too many of these. I can't keep up. Is what they're saying. The it water bottles, for example. So eclectic grandpa, coastal grandma, mob wife, fast fads are tiring out Gen Z. Here are some things I spent a lot of time on social, but I haven't heard these particular terms. Let's go to Supreme Court casual, spotted lantern goth. This Gen Z says that they just cannot keep up with all these recommendations, and cheetah prints were hot. Now they're less hot. It's just so hard to keep up. You are the mother of people. I guess are they Gen Z, Gen Alpha?
Alpha. I think my kids
alpha.
are 13, so they're alpha, and I'm Gen X. So this is a little bit of a mystery to me, and I do not let my children on TikTok. So, I don't really follow myself either, but
I will say that's so good that you haven't let them onto TikTok. My belief is that every 6 months you delay your children from going on to social media, you get years of benefit at the other end. We had a terrific show with Julie Scelfo talking about mothers against media addiction, really important organization. So we really encourage you and everyone else to do what you're doing. There's also this great movement you might have heard of called Wait Till Eighth, and that's about waiting till the 8th grade to get a smartphone, to get on social media. All of this. Australia, as you know, has moved to 16 as the age for social media. So all of this is very hard. Our twins are 22, so I feel that we've had our own issues with all of these things, but we're in a different place from parents of 13-year-olds. Neil's daughter is even younger than that, and so we often talk about this. The
yeah.
quote of the day is, no matter how far you travel, your mother tongue keeps you rooted. That is the only language you can speak with your mom that brings you back to your home. Ravi Mantri, whose debut novel, A Few Pages from Mother's Diary, was written in Telugu. India is seeing a boom in book festivals as young people rediscover the joy of reading bound texts. I was just at the Jaipur Literature Festival, Manisha, and I tell everyone this is a bucket list. Anyone who's interested in books should go there. 500,000 people at a single book festival. Really amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone should check that out.
Well, and the Jaipur Literature Festival has come to the U.S. Pratham is a partner, a proud partner of JLF,
Yes.
and books are at the heart of what we do. If we can just get kids the joy of reading, that's a big part of what we're all about. So, yeah.
And everyone should go to JLF USA. There's 5 cities this year. It's been in Houston and New York for a long time. It's been in Boulder, Colorado for 10 years. They've added North Carolina and Seattle. So it'll all be in September. Everyone should check that out. 4 books that could help you be a better friend. That's so interesting. And found in the files from an artifact from the morgue and the Times Clipping Library. That's what they call the Clips file, or the library of old New York Times newspapers, or newspapers. That's what they're called. Trump's tariffs could help Tesla by hurting its rivals even more. What a way to succeed, by having others suffer. And a Croatian plan to rein in prices echoes the attack of an emperor. Wow. This is why you kind of look at a newspaper, you never know what you're going to see. And here's a story about the Kozhikode in Kerala, the Kerala Literature Festival, and all these other lit fests where young Indians go for fun. Increasingly, it's book festivals. Just absolutely great. And I see Aishwarya Rai is tagging Sundar Nathan. Everyone, please do this. Tag your friends, and they get a chance to see this. We do this every Sunday with great guests. And today we're with Manisha Bharti of Pratham USA, the India Giving Alliance, India Giving Day. So much to talk about. LA kids are back to school, not back to normal. Of all things, this is an ad from Instacart about don't let them become just another faded headline. Donate to LA schools affected by the fires. And places like LA can learn from what Pratham and other organizations did in India during the pandemic. Russian drones and North Korean troops beat back Ukraine's forces in Kursk. With USAID cuts, Africa faces crippling losses. One thing that's interesting is that last week we had Professor Joseph Mbele from Minnesota, actually, who is of Tanzanian origin, and he was talking about maybe this will be a kickstart for organizations to be more self-sufficient, African countries. So he was looking kind of for the silver lining in all of this. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I think the disruption is going to force innovation and creativity, right? It always does. I believe in the resilience of people and ideas. And so I'm excited to see, again, with a hopeful lens of what will emerge. And again, I'll just come back to India Giving Day because that's what I'm here to do. I think the role of individuals is more powerful than ever. The ability to, play a role in supporting these organizations that are having an impact. Like I said, this is focused on India, but several organizations working, including Pratham, in countries around the world.
Look at this, Gen Z tires of fads. And here are some of the things that were fads, including the Stanley water cup bottles and Brat, and all kinds of Uggs, all of these things, shark boots. I didn't. So aren't you glad when you missed some of these fads in the first place, folks? Please share your questions and comments. We're here for another 20 minutes or so with Manisha Bharti. Justice Department investigates big egg producer prices. One of the things that the Biden administration tried to do was investigate big agriculture about this, and they were laughed at. And now that's what the government is doing. So there's so much here to read. There's more about that story from Pakistan. Pardon seekers emphasize their loyalty to Trump. President casts shadow over a race for governor. You're going to see his influence on every single electoral race. And I hadn't noticed this before, but it's called the Week in Trump. And so a way to kind of keep track of all of this. Some of our friends are just tuning out, Manisha. They're saying this is, I can't deal with all of this. How do you keep up with the news, and how do you keep up with all the chaos that's happening, not just in the U.S. but around the world?
I think it's really easy to put our head in the sand and kind of block some of it out, because it's hard to read some of all of these headlines. There's so much angst creation. There's so much anger. There's so much just chaos, like you said. I like to go to the New York Times. I have a digital subscription. I like to go to the games section. I like to go to the art section. Try to find those places where there's hope and joy and love. And I know that may sound woo on a Sunday morning, but I feel like that's where it's going to come from. And so I hope that that we can continue to find hope and joy and stories of sharing love. And again, that's what India Giving Day is all about. That's what philanthropy means, right? It's for the love of humanity, for the love of people. And I think that if we can share and emphasize those opportunities to spread joy, we each have our own part to play in that.
Jonathan says, bad idea to tune it out. Whether you like it or not, you have to keep track of what Trump and his supporters are doing. Here's an unusual story. A chaotic day that fed subway fears. Amid a crackdown on fare evasion, a police encounter ends with 4 people shot, which is a difficult story to kind of process. The arts and leisure, you said, let's go to things that give people joy. An audiophile in Kansas has become a top player in the booming business of vinyl. His goal, saving the world from bad sound, getting back into the groove, is the story here. Have you gone into going back to records or CDs or any of those things? Are you a Spotify person or something else?
Yeah, I listen to Apple Music, but my son is a musician. He's a drummer, and actually now we take time to go to record stores and peruse records. So he has a record player. We were in a record store just a few weeks ago, and he has the joy of vinyl. So yeah, it's both a place for music, but also of community, which I think is more and more important.
And we don't have a record player, but if I see a vinyl store, I like to walk in just to watch something that was dead come back to life. It's not often you can see that. Jeffrey Rush wants you to get out, and Jeffrey Rush is a Oscar winner, of course. Did you watch the Oscars? Did you see any of the movies before the Oscars? Any thoughts?
They're on my watch list. I have to catch up. Yeah.
Okay. But it was like people who had not seen any of the movies sometimes have lots of opinions the day after. Everyone becomes an expert on movies that they haven't seen, it seems like. Here is, in a digital world pursuing an ideal of perfect vinyl. I think your son would love this story, and you can get that for him from your subscription, which was great. Let's look at the Times Magazine. Evidence reporting on the rich and powerful is protected by the American legal system. A new movement aims to change that, by David Heinrich, and talking about major changes in how America works and what's happening in the world. So that's the story there. This is the Modern Love book and column, which many people know. We had Daniel Jones, the editor of Modern Love, on the show a couple of years ago on Valentine's Day, which was lots of fun. Looking through the magazine, there's something, you of course read this online, but there's something special about going through a publication like this and seeing this. Governor Maura Healey knows Democrats have a big brand problem, is the story that we're looking at here. Let's see. Is it the time to retire senior discounts? Okay, so I don't think we told you this, but one of the things we do is we will read the ethicist column and kind of put you on the spot by just asking you your thoughts. There's no right or wrong answer, and then we'll compare it to what the ethicist says. No right or wrong answer. Is it time to retire senior discounts? I'll be 65 early next year and eligible for a range of senior citizen discounts. I've long believed that these discounts are a relic from previous generations when seniors had the highest rate of poverty. But while more than 60 years of government programs have substantially reduced extreme poverty, these discounts remain. Of course, there are still needy seniors, etc. So without knowing anything else beyond this, what are your thoughts on senior discounts? Something you probably haven't thought about.
Well, I do have two. My parents are both, I guess, in that category of being seniors. I guess I've always thought about discounts as being a marketing opportunity, right? Or a ploy to get people to purchase products. That may or may not be what the article is referring to. So, in the sense of if it's just getting more seniors and, able to benefit from those discounts that the companies can manage, then I'm not against them at all.
Here's Jonathan saying, a friend of mine, Larry Jaffe, is something of an expert in the vinyl revival. Oh, very cool. Love to have him on the show sometime, Jonathan. And here, Professor Kwame Anthony Apaya of NYU, who writes this column, says, we don't consider free K through 12 schooling unfair because rich kids can access it. So why treat senior discounts differently? Of course, we're also in a period where the Department of Education is about to be eliminated. So goodness knows where we're going with it. The woman's sudden weight loss concerned her, but it was a surprise in a blood test that raised alarms. This is the diagnosis column where they present unusual cases and then you get to play doctor and have some fun. Here's a recipe. Are you a kitchen person?
I was a deep kitchen person for many, many years of my life. My daughter has taken over my kitchen. So she is a budding chef, a baker. She was featured recently in the Surgeon General's Recipes for Connection, where, she as a 13-year-old gets up at 4:00 in the morning to bake. So she is a true baker at heart. I kid you not. And so she just recently got into my New York Times subscription to start getting recipes from there and is enjoying them a great deal.
Wow, that's amazing. Bong Joon-ho is the famous director, and in Mikey 17, the Korean director blasts his genre-bending cinema of class warfare into outer space. You remember the movie Parasite, which I hope you've seen, which was so well done. Yeah. Let's see here. But I'm still thinking about your daughter getting up at 4 a.m. to bake. Because she won't have time before school. Is that correct?
She bakes cookies for her friends. So if it's their birthday, she, on his 13th birthday, baked this big giant cookie. So she likes to give them to her friends when they're fresh. And it's coming from intrinsically, just she likes to get up. It's quiet. She likes those quiet moments in the morning and the kitchen all to herself. So
love that. Watch What You Say, a landmark 1964 court decision protects the media's ability to criticize the rich and powerful. Will it soon be history? So, as I said, if we're going to have the Department of Education eliminated, then everything's on the table. It strikes me as like the norms of America, the settled, everything that was settled and understood about America has changed so dramatically. And some things, and I'm not saying everything should stay the same, but we're seeing this happen so quickly in real time. That's the problem. And one of my favorite sayings is, I'm all for progress. It's change I cannot stand. And we're experiencing it in this kind of frenetic fashion. The ruling helped usher in a new age of American journalism devoted to exposing malfeasance, questioning authority, and promoting the public interest. And that we know is not something that everybody would want to would agree with. A mother's rage, how Einav Zangokar, a former Netanyahu supporter whose son Matan is captive in Gaza, became the prime minister's fiercest foe. And this is a really haunting photo of a mother in anguish. You can see that here. And I'd be interested in reading that and learning more. I will personally haunt you if my Matan comes home in a body bag, is what she is saying. And here are the games. So you're a puzzler, is that correct?
A little bit. I mean, my family and I actually have a daily Wordle challenge. So one of us, whoever gets up the earliest, which today was me, picks the starting word in Wordle, and we sort of have friendly competition between us. So this is my parents, my siblings, and then our kids get involved too. So we've been doing Wordle together now. I mean, I can't remember when the New York Times took over Wordle, but pretty much from the beginning, almost daily, we have a friendly Wordle challenge between us. So today's starting word for us was early, because I got up extra early this morning. But yeah, we enjoy. My niece, who I'm here, said to make sure I said that she loves Sudoku on the New York Times.
Oh, nice.
Tiles, we do the connections, a lot of the games on there.
Yeah, I don't see the Sudoku in the print edition, but of course it's the online version is there. And then my nephew is playing Ken out. He lives in Dubai and he plays that very seriously. But let's do the spelling bee together, at least one or two words.
Okay.
You know the goal here is you have to use the center letter, and at least four letters have to be there. I see pray, Prey. How about you?
I see pour, Pore. Does that work?
Yeah, no, you need the E in the
We
middle.
need the E in the middle. Okay, let me see.
Oh, that your pour gave me pure, so I think
There we go. Okay.
Love those puzzles.
Yeah, no, I was doing Pore, the different.
Oh, pour. Oh, see, there you go, and that of course works. So you had it. So we've got three. So Neil and I have joked about doing an episode where all we do is the puzzle together.
I could keep going. Yeah, I'll do this after.
Yeah, this is that's a lot of fun. And here's the cooking. Make prep time the new playtime. It says. Here's the men's fashion issue of T, the Style magazine. The legacy begins. Statement making, easy to wear men's clothes for this generation and the next. I thought that if this sounds a little bit like fast fashion, right? Easy to wear men's clothes. But I thought that was part of the problem in the world is there's too much of fast fashion and what's happened with that. The Sunday opinion cover is there is a liberal answer to Doge. It requires making government work for Americans again. Democrats must become the party of growth, says Ezra Klein. And here's a picture of a very sad donkey with some growth on here. It looks, I don't know if there's a chia pet or what exactly is going on here. The LA fires burned their homes. These are the objects that remained. The right can suffer from Trump derangement syndrome too. And COVID may feel like a thing of the past, but we're living in the world it refashioned. And I really believe that everything we're seeing today is a result of the divisions that came about because of COVID. And we saw that in some countries, people came together. In America, it exaggerated and made much worse the divisions that already existed here. The revenge tour has found its true target, President's retribution campaign against the American people. And lots of things here. Sunday Styles, the queen of the blouse. Chloe's Chema Kamali wears her passion proudly. And I don't follow enough women's fashion to know that brand. I think I know of Chloe, but don't know much more. Anxious women have a role model. The writer Curtis Sittenfeld has carved out a fruitful niche in female self-consciousness. In New Stories, Curtis examines the anxieties of women in middle age. Let's see here, style section. Neil would have been very happy to see a full page ad of someone wearing the Yankees hat. He's a big Yankees fan. Do you follow sports?
So I will say right now, like I said, I'm in Toronto. My parents are here. And so there's a cricket match going on upstairs. I don't follow it. My family and I follow Formula One. So we're excited for the season to start next
Wow.
weekend. Yeah.
What an unusual family. 4 a.m. teenager, Formula One. That's really unusual. So here is another place I'm going to put you on the spot. This is called social cues, which are etiquette questions. So not ethics, but etiquette questions. And so we'll see what the question is and what the answer is. So for my partner's birthday, I took her to the hippest restaurant in our city. Its website says reservations are not accepted, and the first come, first served is a fair experience for everyone. That's dangerous. On a special occasion, going first, that itself is a problem right there. So we waited in the cold for 30 minutes. When we were next in line, we watched the staff push together several tables and even move an already seated couple to accommodate a party of 6 that was behind us in line. The host then told us that there would be no room for us that evening. Did the restaurant do us dirty? My opinion is that he or she, whoever did the booking of this or non-booking, is to blame for whatever chaos came after that. But your thoughts?
Well, if I understood the article correctly, and I missed that in my review this morning, it sounds like it's all first come, first serve. So if they were in line first, I think they should have been given the opportunity to be seated first. So, yeah.
But would you do this for a special occasion? Go to a first come, first serve restaurant in the cold like that too?
I think it would depend on the restaurant, the person who was the guest, and you make the waiting fun. Having 2 kids I needed to entertain in a lot of lines. There are ways you can make waiting fun. So
I love how optimistic you are about this and everything else. You see the positive in people and life, and that's wonderful. Here we're just looking at the wedding section, and did they meet online? Well, their parents did. Shalini Monigi and Sunpreet Tandon. So that sounds like an unusual story there. And we actually had one of the writers of the weddings column on the show some years back, and it was a lot of fun to hear how all of that works.
Well, that sounds like an interesting conceit of the parents doing online matchmaking for their kids. I mean, my parents are a product of matchmaking, and maybe it's the again a new opportunity in terms of thinking about how to
exactly. Like a prayer in Charlotte Wood's novel Stoneyard Devotional, an atheist burrows into herself while staying in a convent and contemplates how to live without causing harm. Very deep novel, I'm sure that is. What are you reading these days?
What am I reading?
And any recommendations you'd like to make? Even if it's something you read before,
Yeah, well, I guess what the book that I'm actually carrying with me is this book called A Year to Live. It just happens to be sitting here on the desk next to me. I've recently discovered a meditation practice, and am taking this course. It's a year-long course. The book is how to live this year as if it were your last. So it's a real opportunity to not only think about, if you had 1 year to live, how would you live your life differently now? But really at its heart, it's about really taking stock and being grateful for what's in front of you in the present moment. So
could you hold the book up again so we can
Sure, yeah. It's like I said, it happens to be right here.
A Year to Live by
Stephen Levine. Okay. Stephen Levine, I think he pronounced it.
And he had a year to live, or he's recommending us living as if we have a year to live?
It's both. A bit of both. It's his experiment of living as if it were your last, and what are the lessons in that. So this course has been developed with his inspiration, and so
what's one thing you'll learn from that we could all benefit from?
I mean, I think for me, I'm early in the course, and it's done in community with a large number of other people. I think at the very heart and very simple, it's just really being grateful for the very present moment. And you talked about change, right? All of the disruption, all of the change, those are all the things that are to come, and how to welcome those in, but to be able to just appreciate that what is today is what is, and that's the thing that we can count on in this present moment. So
beautifully put. Thank you. The last book we'll look at is a new memoir by Hanif Qureshi, reflects on a life transformed since he lost the use of his arms and legs. The book is called Shattered, a memoir, and many of us got to know him when he wrote the screenplay for My Beautiful Laundrette, a great story about a young Pakistani man who is given a derelict laundromat in London by his uncle and hopes to turn it into a success. So if you get a chance to learn more about the work of Hanif Qureshi, I recommend him to everyone. Folks, we are getting ready to wrap up the Sunday New York Times read along. Our guest has been Manisha Bharti. She is the CEO of Pratham USA, the co-chair of India Giving Day, part of the India Philanthropy Alliance. I'm going to take her off camera for a minute to just catch her breath and come back and make another great pitch for supporting India Giving Day and set us up for this great week that's coming up. India Giving Day is Friday, March 14th, and I'll be right back to you, Manisha. So stand by. And folks, thank you so much for watching. What a great show we had. We learned so much from Manisha, her thoughts about what's happening in the world. We are so grateful to her and to the entire team at India Giving Day for working with us here and having her here with us. We're also grateful to Scroll for hosting our show. Check out Scroll.in and Scroll Global, one of India's most important websites covering independent news. We're grateful to our sponsors at Muckrack, and I want to tell you about our great guest next week. Liza Donnelly is going to be here. Liza will talk about an exhibition she curated at the Society of Illustrators, drawn from the New Yorker, a centennial celebration. She's a cartoonist at the New Yorker, someone who live draws the Oscars, the Emmys, the Tonys, and just is a great friend of the show. And we're delighted that she will be our guest Sunday, March 16th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And a reminder that we're always looking for guests. We do 40, 50 shows a year. So if you'd like to be a guest, please let us know. We also want to tell you about Neil's other show, Shining a Light on Shadows, a candid conversation about mental health. Our guest, Pradnya Haldipur, will be talking about managing mental health while being effective at work. And Pradnya has been watching this show today, and very important how not to just survive everything that's going on, but how to thrive as well. And Neil and Dawn do this great show every month, twice a month. So check out Shining a Light on Shadows. And we want to remind everyone that India Giving Day is coming up, and that we'd love for you to participate March 14th. And with that, I'm going to bring back our friend Manisha Bharti to talk to us. And hi, Manisha. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Thank you to your family for lending you to us. You're, among other things, you're missing the cricket match that's going on. India and New Zealand are in the finals of one of the big cricket tournaments. And you're leaving today back from Canada, coming back to the United States. So we would like to wrap up here by your telling us a little bit more about India Giving Day, why it matters, why we should all support it, and what we can do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Sree, thank you so much for having me on the show to be able to talk about India Giving Day. I think what I'd really like to encourage all of the viewers, listeners today and over the course of the week to really just take part. There is so much uncertainty in the world right now, and I think being able to give and give back can spread and share that joy. So early giving has already started. And the official India Giving Day this year is on Friday, March 14th. Its intent is to share and spread joy, get people involved, and learn about the opportunities to have impact in India. There are 36 different organizations from which you can learn about what they're doing, the issues they're tackling and supporting, and you can give with confidence that any one of those organizations has been vetted by the India Philanthropy Alliance, and your money will go towards the impact that it says it will. If you can't choose, there's no reason why you can't give to all, and there also is the opportunity to support what's called the India Development Fund, a general fund that will then support all of the organizations. So really hope that, again, the individuals listening, that the power that each and every one of you have is more powerful than ever, again, to have impact in India, to share and spread joy, which for me, I believe is is the way to make change in the world. So thank you again to everyone who's been listening, who can and will consider giving. Again, ask you to share the word as well about India Giving Day, which is taking place on Friday, March 14th. But early giving has already started, and hope you'll come and learn more about what we're all about.
That's terrific. We're so grateful to you and your energy that you brought, also the hope you've brought at a time when there's so much to worry about with everything that's going on in the world. To hear somebody from the field of philanthropy, NGOs, nonprofits, have an optimistic attitude, I think is very important. And the work that you and every one of those organizations are doing, including Pratham, is absolutely vital and critical at this point. So just a reminder, Giving Day is on Friday, indiagivingday.org. We've seen the scroll throughout the conversation, indiagivingday.org. Please support, give, as you know, whatever you can afford. Even a little bit of money makes a big difference. We heard that great line from Dr. Sujana that giving a little bit makes a big difference when we're reaching out, and it makes a difference to all of those folks. So please give what you can afford. Jonathan says, great show. Thank you. And thank you, Jonathan. And Debbie says, a great discussion. We learned a lot about India Giving Day and many excellent philanthropies. Thank you. Sudha says, thank you. And Jonathan reminds us to look at the New Yorker Centennial at the New York Public Library. And perhaps IA Impact and SADA can help publicize India Giving Day, great organizations. And I want to give a shout out to our friend Deepak Raj, who supports so many great efforts to bring the community together, to help India and to help Indian Americans who are who need the help. And this is, as you said, not just about helping India. This is about the learnings from India being used in Latin America, Africa, all over the world. And that's so important. So thank you very much. Have a great day. And everyone, Friday, March 14th, India Giving Day. indiagivingday.org is the website. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.